This is The World Now, bringing you everything you need to know from around the globe. In Moscow on Tuesday, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump advisor Jared Kushner had a 5-hour meeting with President Vladimir Putin at the Kremlin as Washington pushes a revised Ukraine peace plan. Putin's advisors Kirill, Dmitriev, and Yuri Ushakov called the talks productive, constructive, and substantive, but confirmed there is, quote, no compromise yet, especially on territory, which remains the central sticking point. Ushakov said Russia reviewed the updated 28-point plan along with 4 additional documents and that parts of the U.S. proposal are acceptable while others are not. Putin earlier accused European governments of trying to block the U.S. draft, saying their demands were, quote, not acceptable for Russia. Meanwhile, in Ireland, Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky said, now more than ever, there is a chance to end this war, but stressed that several issues, quote, still need to be worked out. In Honduras on Tuesday, the presidential race tightened dramatically as centrist candidate Salvador Nasralla took a razor-thin lead over conservative rival and Nationalist Party leader Nasri Asfura, who is backed by U.S. President Donald Trump. The tally at 2:30 p.m. local time showed Nasralla at 39.96% and Asfura at 39.80%, with just over 60% of votes counted after a system failure left about 20% uncounted. Earlier, the Electoral Authority urged calm, saying the rapid count platform and its website had crashed, forcing parts of the vote to be counted by hand. Observers reported high turnout and largely peaceful voting, but warned that prolonged delays could trigger protests or unrest. Trump had taken to social media on Monday and alleged fraud, warning there would be, quote, hell to pay if results were changed. He also appealed to Hondurans to vote for Asfura, adding he would pardon former conservative President Juan Orlando Hernandez. The White House said Hernandez, who was serving 45 years for drug trafficking, has since been pardoned and released. In the U.S. on Tuesday, President Donald Trump said the United States will begin striking targets inside Venezuela soon, escalating a campaign that has so far focused on hitting alleged drug boats in the Caribbean. Trump also warned that any country trafficking drugs into the U.S. is subject to attack, prompting a sharp response from Colombia's President Gustavo Petro, who said threatening Colombia's sovereignty is declaring war. At the same meeting, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said strikes on suspected drug vessels have only just begun. In London on Tuesday, Fabergé's imperial winter egg, commissioned in 1913 by Tsar Nicholas II, has sold at auction for a record $30 million. Christie says the diamond-studded piece, one of only 7 still in private hands, is now the most expensive Fabergé's work ever sold, surpassing the previous record set in 2007. 지지한, ArirangNews.